this is so true. So let's see what we about to see here. Who is the best? Oh, I want to see. YouTube boxing tier list. I'm still wearing my U-Haul shirt. That is so funny. Let's go.
Alright, so we are back, and today's the day, guys. You've asked for it. You guys have begged me for it. It has been the one thing requested as everyone slides into my DMs like they're at the World Series 9th inning. The game's tied 2 outs, and they steal home plate. It is finally time for me to fill out my YouTube boxing tier list. My list is going to be based purely on boxing skill, or at least what I can gather of their boxing skill. And it's not going to be based on clout or any kind of social status or 13-year-old super fans in my comments going, why didn't you put him at the top? He's got a better following and he brings in more fans. The f*** out of here. We're talking about pretty much everyone from the YouTube versus TikToker card. We're talking about some other legends in the YouTube boxing scene, some people you haven't heard from in a while, and a couple people I haven't even watched before. So here it is, the YouTube boxing tier list to end all other tier lists, the breakdown. Let's go. Alright, so first thing, the different tiers in my list. I'm not trying to give you guys some nursery rhyme to help you remember the letters of the alphabet. I don't need to categorize everything by S, A, B, C, D, E, X, why the hell do tier lists sound like that? So, we're going to start at the front and take the top off like Jake Paul and Bryce Hall when they go to the barber shop. Number 1, we have back to clickbaiting / hip shaking. If you can't cut it in the boxing ring, that's okay. But you got to go back to what made you pop off in the first place. Next up, we have journeyman. Obviously, if you guys know the fight game, you know what a journeyman is. He's a guy that most people are put in there to beat. Their skill doesn't rise, but they keep fighting because, let's be honest, they want the money. Next up, we have the prospects. These are guys that haven't fought enough yet. We don't really know where to categorize them, but we know they have potential and they could either go up from here or fall right back down to the bottom. Then we have the solid fighters. They're not the best guys on YouTube yet, but they have proven themselves to be pretty solid. Next, we have our contenders. These are the guys that are looking to take that crown of the YouTube Boxing King status. They're not quite all the way at the top, and these guys are one step away from taking over the game. And at the top of the mountain, sitting on the throne, we have the Let's Go champs. These are the guys right now currently that have the best skill, experience, work ethic, and ability in the boxing. So now we have all of our tiers ironed out. We have our combatants ready. Let's get into it. Number 1, we have Kale Siraj. Kale is not a boxer. He took his fight versus Ryan Johnston like most guys did.
Yep, completely expected from an unexperienced when it comes to it, because a lot of people, me also, well, I don't swing that wild when I throw. I try to keep it straight. I know it's not the best looking, and I do want to work on that, and I've been trying to work on that in particular, but his was wild, but it was kind of needed for his power, so it wasn't too bad, but it was bad for who he's up against wise.
To earn some money. I will say, he earned his spot to be there in some barroom brawls in the lead up, but on the night of the fight, Ryan Johnston, who again himself is not the greatest skilled boxer, he took Kale to school. Listen, I don't mind watching Kale, he's entertaining, but you know when he goes against a guy, even like Ryan Johnston, who can just put 1-2s together, he's gonna get beat. Kale, I don't think he should go back to clickbaiting and hip shaking, but he is a journeyman. Next up, we have DDG, and I gotta be honest, man, DDG disappointed me. This is the guy that I thought could be, if he decided to take this seriously.
The only problem with DDG is you could tell that he didn't care. He genuinely didn't care for this guy. He genuinely did this for a one-off special, and that was it. He didn't work him like he probably should have done it. Because if he would have, it probably would have been a KO victory on his end. A straight-up KO victory. He never would have made it to the last round. He probably would have barely made it to the second if DDG did what he was supposed to. But DDG was like, nah, I don't even need to do that. I'm going to hurt this boy. Let me in there real quick.
Higher level guy, possibly a solid fighter, even a contender if he was going to continue doing this. But after that performance against Nate Wyatt, I think I see a guy that is not very committed to boxing, a guy that's reckless in the ring, that doesn't rely on his fundamentals, on his skill, because he does have it. I think Nate was a guy he completely overlooked, and this is an old saying, when the fight becomes harder than you thought it would be, then you're in trouble. There are a lot of question marks because of DDG's lack of technique in the actual fight, but his showing of technique in his other sparring sessions and his mitt work and other things that we had seen of him, we know it's there. He just didn't show it on fight night. We're going to stick him at a prospect level because, again, a lot of question marks around him, but at the same time, I know he has skill. He just has to take it more seriously and implement it better. Okay. Next up, we have Bryce, the street fighter that's never claimed to be a...
No. And here's why. Let me put it like this. I think... No. Just no. No. Go. Don't fight anymore. Do not fight anymore. I love to watch a person that... I think we can all agree, a person that we don't like get beat up. But Bryce Hall, you didn't put up even a fight to even make me say that you should be able to fight again. You didn't. You were literally the punching bag who tried to throw by, who caught maybe one good hand. One good one. Other than that,
fighter, Paul. Man, Bryce is not built for this sport. And we knew this from the first footage that we saw against Stromedy. He tried to downplay it and tell us, listen, that spar didn't mean anything. Okay, he caught me with the right hand, but I've gotten way better. And then we saw Austin treat his nose like a Picasso painting and rearrange it. So, no, he didn't. Athletically, he is built more for grappling. That's what he's used to. That's what he does. Those are hard habits to break. But from what we've seen from him currently right now, I don't think he beats a lot of guys. In fact, anybody that throws straight punches down the pipe, jab right hand, jab left hand, those are some of the simplest attacks in boxing, but Bryce's lack of head movement, his lack of understanding of distance, it's going to get him hurt. The man's going to take a journey down the list. Bryce Hall is a journeyman. Next up, we have FaZe Jarvis, and Jarvis is interesting.
No. He should box. He should go back to whatever else. He is no journeyman. That is not a journeyman. A journeyman is there to make the opposite fighter look good. No, he shouldn't be in there because he tiers into 2-tier list. He's above because he has enough to be able to put on the gloves and step in, but he does not have the to make the fighter look that good when it comes in comparison. No.
To me, since we started covering the guy, he has picked up the sport fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, he...
My boy, him. I'm telling you this right now. My boy finna wreck it. Whoever he up against next, it's over, boy. It's game over, bro. He finna win it all. He finna win all the titles.
He was in there against a tomato can named Michael Lee, so fair play. He wasn't fighting the best guy. But what do we say about guys like Jarvis, guys like DDG, even guys like Slim? They have potential. It comes naturally to them to a degree. And when they get in the ring, they can perform. I do see FaZe Jarvis doing this again, and I see him doing it in the near future. I don't know too much about him. He could go up or down. He's a prospect.
Yeah,
Next, we have another FaZe member. Back-to-back FaZe members here. And listen, some of you might be shocked by this, but you shouldn't be if you've been around my channel long enough. I think FaZe Sensei is one of the best guys.
Before you continue, let me say this. I will agree off the bat. FaZe Sensei, technique-wise, screams at everybody in comparison. He fights better than Logan does. The reason being is because the fundamentals, the baseline of him is down pat, is down to a T. He's that guy who does videos like you. His videos like Wade over here, and he does it good. Not just the videos, but the boxing. He can actually go far. And the thing is, I wish he had more fights. I really wish he did. Because if he would have had more fights, I would have loved for him to fight, on the undercard of him, of KSI versus Logan Paul 2. I would have loved for that to be the thing. I would have loved for it. It would have been great to see. He has it down, and it's upsetting that he hasn't fought anyone lately. I cannot wait for him to step back in the ring and wreck whoever it is. Because he is. There is no. He's going to wreck him.
Technique, skill-wise, on this list. And I say that for 3 reasons. Watch him spar KSI, watch him spar Vidal, and watch him fight overt flow. Those 3 settings told me everything I need to know about FaZe Sensei. He's got some of the best footwork in the game. He's light on his feet. He has great shot selection, great defense. Hasn't ever dedicated years, even months, to boxing specifically to train it and get better. and he's still better than most people on this list. And I think that based off what I've seen, but it is speculation. He's only gone in there one time and gotten a win over Overt Flow, who wasn't very good. Face Sensei, I'd like to put him up here at Let's Go Champ. I really would, but I gotta stick him at Contender. His skill level is some of the highest in the game, but he hasn't fought enough for me to put him at Let's Go Champ, because I would absolutely put him here had he fought more. And going from some of the highest skill level on the YouTube scene to flat out some of the worst we've ever seen in an actual boxing ring. I like this guy because it seems like he's trying to turn things around, but we're talking about my man Fuzi too. Listen, Fuzi's a guy that should probably never box again. I've said this before. In his one attempt at boxing, his technique was non-existent. It was mostly emotional boxing based off of his emotional reaction to everything that happened that night. And yeah, Fuzi has power, but you could go down to your local gym, walk in and find the steroid freak in the squat rack sniffing pre-workout before he hits a set of 500 for 10, and he's going to have power too. It doesn't mean he can box. Fuzi, you're killing it with the Dana Tube stuff. I think you should stay with it, boss. You got to go back to clickbaiting, man. You got to. Next up, we have JMX, and fun fact here, I haven't actually seen a lot of JMX, so...
I'm sorry. Oh, you haven't? Oh, well, congrats. You finna be irritated. Go look up JMX, bro. JMX can go. That right there, I believe. I'm sorry. Jake is good and everything, but Jake can't keep up with them. He can't keep up with FaZe. He can't do it, bro. He can't do it. Them two, neither one of them. Neither one. He couldn't fight neither one. Logan either. No, they too good. They a little too good. And JMX too good. I'm sorry. He too cold for me.
We're actually going to take a look at a couple things here from him and see exactly what he's got. Let's take a look and see some of his highlights. Look at him.
Big man.
Stare down. Okay, so JMX is a southpaw. Interesting. He's a tall guy, huh? This is a big boy right here. I like the feints. Ooh, nice little check right hook over the top. Jab. Ooh, straight left hand. Woo!
Look at him.
That's what we like. All right, so now it looks like we got some more recent footage. Let's take a look at this. Boom.
Look at that power. Look at that.
Boom. Hey, I like that. Look at that lead hook. Bouncing on the feet, moving in and out of range. Double jab. Well, damn.
He did.
Okay.
Fight, which is
JMX is no joke, man. Listen, I think he won his fight. I think he's also done some MMA fights. You guys correct me if I'm wrong there. He's got a great jab. He throws a straight punch as well for a bigger, longer guy. That's really tough to teach, to keep guys at your range using your straight shots. He's got a great right hook off the lead hand, too. That check right hook put the guy down. I do think he's better than some of the guys that are either just starting the sport or that have been around and just haven't improved. This guy's a solid fighter. We don't know much about him, but we do know that he's been in there consistently, he's experienced, and he's won fights when he's gotten the opportunity. Next, we have the Big Gibber. Man, oh man. Okay, Gib...
I want to start off by simply saying this. I think Gib probably will be, like, solid fighter when it comes to a tier list wise. It's because we know Gib isn't... Okay, put it like this. Image-wise of how you present a fighter, I wouldn't show them Gib if I was showing them like a physique-wise on that, or even height-wise. The thing with Gib is that stamina one, which yes, that goes to KSI also, but the stamina for Gib was shown on a gorgeous level in every single last one of his fights. And yes, I will count the Jake Paul situation also because he still never stopped. His recent fight, it screamed why Gib can be a title contender is that he knows what to do. He goes in there and he does it. He may not do it to the absolute T, excuse me, as somebody would like him to do, but he is a pressure fighter. A lot of people are more on the boxing, the boxing fundamentals. I keep saying it wrong. I'm just going to keep saying baseline. They're able to stand. They're able to jab. They're able to keep their distance. Gib can get in your face, stay in your face, bop, 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 take that shot that you may catch on him, block the other ones, take a few of them, and still keep going. That's what I like about Gib, is that non-stop attitude he has about it. I would put him past prospect, obviously. He's had 4 fights at this point. My man has had 4 fights. It's funny as Jake's having his wood. Jake's having his wood fight right now. Jake's about to have his 5th fight. Damn, Jake's about to have his 5th fight. That's crazy.
Is incredible for his size, for his stature, for his, what you would think, limited ability to box, because again, he doesn't have an outstanding frame. He doesn't have outstanding power. But what he does have is ridiculous cardio, work ethic, and just pace that he puts on you. And we do have to show for reference that yes, Jake figured out that puzzle very quickly. But outside of that fight, Gibb has shown not only an ability to get better over time, he took Taylor Holder to the woodshed. And he fought guys like Jay Swingler, put that pace on them. This is tough because I think Gibb could hold his own and has hold his own against a guy like Faye Sensei. I don't know if he beats Sensei in an actual boxing match, and I don't see him being on the level of a guy like Jake. This is not going to be the most popular decision of the tier list, but I have to put him here. I think Gibb's a solid fighter. I do. I think he's a solid fighter for now. I don't know if he's quite near that contender and Let's Go Champ level just yet. Next up, we have Adam Sala. Adam paid another fighter to take a fall and then acted like he didn't. I refrained from doing a video on this because there hasn't really been a tale of both sides of what happened in his fight versus Marcus. And now looking back on it, you go, well, it makes sense that he looked a little better than he should have because apparently the fix was in. We got swindled. And just for that, if that is the case, Adam Sala should go back to clickbaiting, man. You can't fake your fights in an influencer boxing setting and remain with some kind of integrity. You can't do it. And the evidence otherwise is pretty damning. So he's got to go back to clickbaiting. Next up, we have Jake Paul. You guys know him as the problem man-child, the most feared 5-head on YouTube, newly dubbed the Creeper Mustache Menace. All jokes aside, Jake's damn good, and it's because Jake has put in work to get there. He ran through Deji like Taco Bell on an empty stomach. He TKO'd Gibb, had him doing the crab walk. Then he moves on to Nate Robinson and dribbles his head off the canvas like a basketball. And finally, he gets to a former 2-time world champion and Olympic-level wrestler. And instead of doing any of that, Ben Askren was trying to wrestle Jake's right hand out of his eye socket. Fundamentally, he's got a great jab. He can reach out and touch you with that jab without overextending on it all the time. He's got a powerful right hand. The guy is around 200 pounds, doesn't really cut weight. He can crack you and put you down. I hate to say it because I'm not the biggest fan of the man himself, but he's not doing any hip shaking. He's way past a journeyman. We saw him as a prospect. He left that in the dust. Solid fighters he's beat up. A contender is something he was when he went out and beat Gibb, but now, unfortunately, it's time to say, let's go, champ.
I completely understand. From the fights that he's had, it makes complete sense. The only downside is that in the same aspect of it, that means that he probably will be, I haven't looked at one on the tier list, but he probably will be the only one up there unless some of them have fought secretly and done better fights than Jake has. Because I think that would be the to beat list thing, to be honest with you. That's my thought process of the thing. That's my thought process. But besides that, yeah, we'll see who's after that.
Jake Paul is a top-tier fighter in the YouTube game. Next up, we have Jay Swingler, and it's kind of fitting that we have the man right behind Jake Paul that has a "fuck Jake Paul" tattoo. Jay Swingler is the man that went to war with Gibb in one of the videos that we broke down. Didn't have his best performance, but he did show some skill. He did show an ability to throw shots back and forth with Gibb, and that was an absolute slugfest. But I think right now, if you put him in with a guy like FaZe Jarvis, I think FaZe Jarvis would probably beat him. DDG would probably beat him. And for that reason, I would like to see him fight again, but for that reason, and for the fact that 2 years ago, Gibb had his way with him for all 4 rounds or 5 rounds that they fought, Gibb won every single one of them. I do see him fighting again, but I see him on the journeyman track. Jay Swingler, unfortunately, a journeyman. And then we have Joe Weller, one of the OGs in the game. My man, Joe.
Okay, I put Joe Weller, in my personal opinion, off the bat, as not a journeyman, because he can go. He can box. It may not be on the best of all levels, but he can go. I would put him, personally, solid. Prospect would be the best one, because journeyman, it'll be journeyman or prospect, one of those two, to be perfectly honest, because it's like he didn't really do too much, but he showed he can. I think we have 3 videos out of him boxing. 4. plus the actual fight. So, and then when he fought Jake, so.
Joe Weller is synonymous with the YouTube boxing scene. Him, Theo Baker, two guys that started this entire thing and led to the point now we have Logan Paul fighting Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul fighting Tyron Woodley. Who would have thought? My man Joe has had his go, right? He had his go in the first one with Theo Baker. He looked like a guy that didn't know how to box, but he looked better than Theo. And then obviously the big fight that kind of kicked this whole thing off, the KSI Joe Weller fight. Joe just could not on the night figure out how to get past a guy with a little bit longer reach. And even as he's continued to try this, you go and watch him spar Jake Paul, and like I said, Jake was hitting him with rudimentary shots, jab right hands, left hooks to the body, but Joe was still doing the same things that he was doing in his KSI fight. Maybe he can stick with Sky Sports and get out of the clickbaiting, but for now, he shouldn't box again. Next up, we have Josh Bruckner. I've actually seen Josh fight before. He's had a professional boxing match on the undercard of, I think it was KSI and Logan Paul, the second one. And listen, he looked good. You could tell he was a little stiff. That might have been some nerves in his first ever pro boxing match, but he had a nice left hook, straight right hand. He was throwing the 3-1 down the pipe. He still got hit with some shots that I didn't think he should have been hit with, right? The head movement was, like I said, a little bit stiff and kind of static. He is going to be one of the higher level guys here, just again, based off his ability to box at a pro level, which most guys on this list haven't done. So I can't quite label him a contender, but as true as the label on this category goes, Josh is a solid fighter. And now we move on to the leader of the Sidemen, the man that has encompassed all of YouTube. He's doing music. He's doing Reddit videos. He is everywhere. But the one place we want to see him again is back in the ring.
I think I'll put him as solid. Once again, I put him as solid. Not contender. The only reason is because of the long branch of... Because you have to understand... Your status is good if there's no other fights, basically. But then when there's more fights, your status goes down eventually. Because of it. Somebody's stomping outside, it's weird.
Where does KSI fall on this list? Listen, the first thing we need to get out of the way, and this is going to be a shock to some people, KSI isn't a fundamentally great boxer. He's not. At least not in terms of what he's shown in his actual fights. Under the lights, in a pressure-packed situation, KSI goes back to what he knows best, which is throwing wildly, coming forward, relying on his pace to hopefully land him a big one, get a knockdown, or scoring points based on his aggression and hoping that shots land. Boxing isn't just your technique, isn't just your skill, it's the will to win, it's the will to dig deep and find a way to get that win. KSI knows how to do that. He knows how to dig deep, and most importantly, win fights. Is he on the level of Jake Paul? Personally, right now, no. I don't think he's on Jake's level. KSI might be training sparring every weekend, and I'm sure that's something that he's picked up on recently, but 3 straight years from Jake. Consistently fighting over this last year. 3 months fight, 3 months fight. But at this time, right now, they fought today, Jake beats him. Yeah. I can't put him up there on the same level. KSI goes to a contender position. Oh, wow. Next, we have the man that they should rename McDonald's after. Of course, I'm talking about Austin McMuffin, McFlurry, McMushroom, Austin McBroom. Now, again, I was impressed with Austin in his fight with Bryce Hall.
Did you not see what my man was doing? My man was out there. My man was repositioning the body and everything. My man was out there. He did it so natural, like he's been boxing for years. My man, it was just satisfying to watch. I was like, I knew he was gonna win, but I just didn't know like that, bro. You see, that's some shocking stuff right there. That'd be some shockness.
And that's probably for 2 reasons. One being Bryce was not very good. And 2, Austin showed good footwork. He showed an understanding of distance, feinting, popping out his jab, entering range safely. The rumor is him and KSI are supposed to be fighting. I think that would be a true test of where Austin's skill level and ability is, because KSI is going to push him, and he's going to be there for the duration of the fight. But there's still more questions than answers with this guy, and we're going to have to see if he continues doing this. For that reason, Austin's a prospect. Okay. Next up, we have Austin's second in command, his right-hand man, Landon McBroom. Landon fought a guy in Ben Azalart that had never boxed. He basically ran through a guy they picked up off the street and said, hey, you want $100,000 to not be a Disney character for a day. So yeah, it doesn't prove anything that Landon went in and wipe the floor with that kid. He takes it seriously when he's in camp. He said he wanted to fight Taylor Holder. I think he's a prospect, and I would like to see him go in again. So next we have the Prince to his problem child brother, Logan, the Charizard collecting hair plug podcaster, Paul. So for Logan, listen, I think he has skill. He's got a pretty decent jab. Sometimes the plot gets away a little bit, and we start to go back into the Donkey Kong beating on the chest hooks, but while he does hold his hands low, and we all know low hands Logan is a thing, the controversy comes in where we put him relative to KSI. We saw in their 2 fights that JJ wanted to win more in both of those fights. These 2 have gone at it twice. Logan's fought 3 times, and he hasn't won a single one. It's disingenuous for me to put Logan on the same level as KSI, even if I think out of 10 times they fight, Logan wins 5, KSI wins 5. Logan's a solid fighter, but his low hands, his lack of will to win, and his inability to throw his big power shots. He might have all the muscles in the world, but if he can't land shots, none of it matters. He's a solid fighter. Got a lot of work to do. Next we have Michael Lee. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. Michael Lee, he came out, he gave it his best shot. Jarvis was too much for him. He didn't really land all that much. He was throwing a lot of shots. He seemed like he was into the fight, but I don't think we ever see him in a boxing ring again, and for that reason, you got to go back to shaking the hips. All right, so next up we have Deji. Oh, man, we just did a whole video on Deji and why he shouldn't box anymore. I just don't think he has the will to go out there and push himself in the lead-up, and most of these fights, guys, they're won in the lead-up, especially at this level. If your cardio is on point, you can weaponize it versus guys that aren't very skillful yet. And the greatest example of that is the guy he fought in Vinny. His cardio was on point, his pace was on point, and he weaponized it. So yeah, listen, I don't think Deji should box anymore. I've said this, I'm sticking by it. Deji's had his opportunities. He's had time and time again to get ready for this fight and others, and he's just chosen to take the easy, lazy route. For that reason, Deji's got to go back to clickbaiting, man. I'm sorry. Next we have Nate Wyatt. He is a part of the TikTok wannabe LA models with Taylor Holder and Bryce Hall. This guy had no boxing skill. We knew this coming into the fight. And because of that, and because of Nate Wyatt's ability to just to hang around, he stayed around for all 5 rounds. He lost all 5 rounds. But I don't see him doing this anymore. I don't think boxing is something that he really, truly enjoys. Fair play to the guy. He got in there, but I don't think he ever does it again, and DDG should have rolled this guy instead of flailing around and landing 1 shot or 2 here or there. Sorry, Nate. It's back to the hip shake. Next, we have Overt Flow, and I included Overt Flow because, 1, we've watched him, so he's got to be on this list, and 2, apparently he's got another fight coming up. And while he lost to Faye Sensei pretty convincingly, let's be fair to the guy. He was called in a little late to that fight. He's not a natural boxer. He was never going to be as skilled as Faye Sensei. But with that being said, whoever he draws next is probably not going to be as good as Faye Sensei. I mean, we have him on that 2nd level for a reason. He's one of the better guys in this scene. I think he's a guy that's probably going to continue, not get very many wins, but I like to see him in the scene. He adds a little variety. He's a bigger guy. Let's put him on the gym. Next up, we have Ryan Johnston. This man has been through a whirlwind in the last few months. He got knocked down and basically put on wobble legs by Taylor Holder. And then he came back and beat Kale Siraj in a pretty kind of uneventful, close fight. Ryan and Kale are about the same ability level, about the same skill level. They both ran through the malnourished boxing decathlon, 3 or 4 fights in a night to get to the card. But even on the night, you saw Ryan Johnston. Yeah, he was great with his right hand. He had decent timing. Outside of that, there was a lot of running forward, kind of wild looping shots. I don't think he beats anybody in that prospect level. So, he's taking a journey. Ryan Johnston, a journeyman. Next up, we have Slim. Slim is the man that tuned up Fuzi like an old guitar. Fuzi, not the greatest fighter out there, probably one of the worst fighters on this list. But Slim showed promise. He showed a 1-2 that looked nice. While it was mostly all he threw, he was still accurate and he still landed. Yeah, we look at Slim as a guy we still just don't know a lot about because, let's be honest, he has 1 fight. We've heard him in talks to fight Gibb. We've heard him in talks to fight Deji. I want to see him fight again. I'm entertained by Slim. I do think he's a prospect, and I want to see him more. Slim goes right into prospect range. Next up, we have Stromedy, and while he kind of embarrassed Bryce Hall to a certain degree, I got to be honest, I don't think this kid gives 2 shits about boxing. I think he wanted to get some clout, and him and Bryce doing their thing definitely achieved that. But when I saw this man do a full 360 to protect himself from another boxer in front of him, That was the moment I said, my man, you got to go back to the clickbaiting. Oh, and next we have Taylor Holder, the man with 1,000 excuses as to why he couldn't beat the big fucking Gibba. Listen, guys, I picked Taylor to beat Gibb. I thought his technical ability, I thought him working on the pads, him doing what he did to Ryan Johnston, this was going to be a fight where if he could keep Gibb at range and do some of the things that Jake did to Gibb, he was going to have a lot of success. And it turns out, under those lights, in that moment, the guy couldn't pull the trigger, and he had nothing for the big Gibber. I don't know if Taylor's ever going to box again, but he still has some skill there. There are some questions that we have to answer from Taylor. It was his first fight. How does he respond if he ever does this again? Does he have the ability to go and take whatever he's doing well in the training room? Can he take that into a fight and actually win? We don't know. We got more questions than answers. He's a prospect. So the next up, we have Theo Baker, and I only included Theo out of pure respect for him for being a pioneer of this YouTube boxing scene. Theo did not look like he belonged in any boxing ring, in any boxing gym, in any combat sport. Anytime he gets into a physical altercation, it should be put into a pamphlet on what not to do in a physical altercation. I'm sorry, Theo, you are an OG, that's why I put you on this list, but the YouTube scene, they don't need you in the boxing ring, they need you in the history books. And last but not least, we have the man that hacked Deji's mainframe, hacked the system, and won the fight. I can't do it. We have Vinny Hacker, guys. Like I've said many times on this list, the best fighter doesn't always win. And while Deji wasn't a massively better fighter than Vinny Hacker was, I thought he had the ability to beat Vinny Hacker with just a little bit of cardio. But Vinny found a way to weaponize it. He takes the victory from Deji. He showed a good understanding of a jab right hand. He had a nice little left hook in there. But everybody on the prospect level probably takes him to school where an 18-year-old like himself should be. So unfortunately for Vinny, man, he said this himself. He was just doing this for the money. He's only 18. He's got room to develop. But I think we've pretty much seen what we're going to get from Vinny Hacker. He's a journeyman. There is my list. At the top, you only have one man, and that is...
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, I can agree with some of these. I can agree with most of these. Yeah. I think I can agree with most of them. Jake is pretty much the only one right now that can... Face Inside could have been higher. Face Inside would have kept fighting, but that's what we have now. It's fine. We'll just keep going from here, and we'll see what happens. Alright. You gonna clean up dog piss. You in trouble, bro. I'll tell you that right now. You in trouble.